Hey guys, welcome to another video. This week we are going to be doing a gouache still life painting, and I'm really excited and a tiny bit nervous actually to share this one with you. I've been doing a couple little still life studies in different mediums over the past couple weeks, and I've really been enjoying them, but I've kind of been shying away from trying it with gouache. If you don't know this, the most viewed video on this channel is my gouache comparison video where I compared a cheap brand of gouache to a more expensive brand of gouache. And while it's exciting that that's, the most viewed video on this channel by a lot, I'm actually not very proud of how that video turned out. And every time I get a positive comment, I am so exceptionally grateful for it. And every time I get a negative comment, I feel like I deserve it. But it's that sort of thing that has kind of built up in me and caused me a lot of anxiety concerning that video. Not necessarily people's comments, but just my own feelings about how I did working with the gouache overall, and I really wasn't happy with it. And that's kind of the relationship I've had with gouache. I love the look of it, I love the finish of it, but I've just not been very good at learning how to use it. So with this, I was trying to take a step forward in conquering my fear of working with gouache. And I'm actually really happy with how this painting turned out. Overall, I feel like I'm actually starting to learn how this medium works, because even though it's considered like an opaque watercolor, I find them to be very different from one another in application and in finish and in how you use them. But overall, I feel like with this piece, I got one step closer to understanding the medium, and also this has helped me with all of those other aspects of still life paintings and values and all that kind of stuff, and overall I feel like this was a good step forward. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking for me to talk about that previous gouache video because I feel so strongly about it in that I'm not super happy with it, but I think it's important for me to share even like the things that just cause me stress and anxiety, because I think it's more important for me to be a real person with you guys than it is for me to try to make myself seem perfect, which I most certainly am not. Look at how this Royal Talons gouache has a little bit of like chunks in it. Like I had more trouble reactivating that one than the others. Okay, so to talk about this piece in particular a little bit, I am using a couple different brands of gouache actually. I'm using Graham Gouache for my white. My blue and red are Holbein, and the yellow is Royal Talons. And I really wanted to go with a controlled, sort of limited color palette with this painting, because that's one of the biggest things that messes me up about gouache, is when my color values and the hues and things get too out of hand. My painting doesn't really look cohesive and the colors look like a big mess and they don't go together very well at all. So I actually ended up with Carmine, which is a cool red, and Prussian Blue, which is a warm blue. I always get blues confused, like what's warm and what's cool. I always want to think they're the opposite of what they are. But then my yellow is Naples Yellow, and then of course just whatever that white is, titanium white or whatever it's called, the Graham white. And I found that limiting myself in this way with palettes was like incredibly essential in keeping my colors a bit more cohesive and having everything sort of make sense. And I was preparing myself a bit more for that color shift that gouache has. Like when it dries, my values often end up a lot lighter or a lot darker than they were when I put them down, and I was mentally preparing myself for that a bit more this time. And ultimately that was definitely a good idea. It was really helpful to prepare myself. As far as the subject that I'm painting goes, I am painting my teapot and my favorite mug to drink tea out of. And this may not look like a normal mug, but that's just because it's a pottery piece that we actually got at a local art show, which was really cool. My husband and I got kind of a matching set of mugs, and we've had those for, oh gosh, like 5 years now, and it's my favorite thing to drink tea out of. I'm actually probably gonna go make tea as soon as I'm done recording this voiceover, because now that I mention it, I could really use some tea. I love to drink tea. If I haven't mentioned that already, I've definitely mentioned it on Instagram. So getting to choose a subject that I actually enjoy was really, really useful for me, and I played around a lot with changing the colors from slightly warmer to slightly cooler, and I found that subtle variations in color are the best way to keep your palette cohesive while still showing what you want to show. So while there's that warmer shadow ring like around the middle of the teapot, it's not necessarily, I didn't go, I want a warm color, so I just threw straight red on there. I mixed it with the other colors I had already been using to keep my palette more cohesive and just to sort of imply and hint at and let the variation in color and in value be compared to the other colors next to it. So if I wanted something dark, I went, how much darker does this need to be than what's already here? So there's a lot of comparing and looking at what I already have and deciding based on those things how the next color will vary at all. Hopefully that makes sense. Gouache has always been a bit of a scary thing for me, but I love that velvety smooth finish that it has, and the fact that it's so opaque makes the colors really just kind of pop off of the page, and everything just looks so vibrant and alive and beautiful. And I definitely feel like this is kind of the closest I've ever gotten to really taming gouache or really making it work for me. So this was a massive, huge step forward. I didn't record the end of this painting, but of course I have all of it to show to you. And if you haven't noticed yet, this video is actually a higher quality than my other videos. This is my first 4K video, and I'm really excited. So I know not everyone can view these in 4K, but I hope that you guys enjoy this video nonetheless. So let me know, have you used gouache before, and has it given you any trouble, or do you find it easier to use? And if so, what's your favorite trick or tip that you've learned from using gouache, or any questions that you might have about using gouache? You guys have been really great about talking to each other in the comments. So if you have anything, any pointers or any questions about gouache, feel free to leave those down below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I'll see you next week.